Imagine, for a moment, home, the earth, your safe haven, none quite like it in all the universe. Its chemistry, form, function, an unrivaled bastion of life. But look closer. Gargantuan oceans, shifting sands, sweeping snows. That's better. But go even further. That's it. Countries, cities, castles, kitties. Life, the four-legged friend, the eight-legged enemy, and the two-legged king. Humanity, the conquerors, kings and queens of the land you call Earth. And through it all, these short years of your existence, when blood soaked the water in droves, when ice melted in the north, and children boiled in the south, did you ever wonder if you deserved this beacon of life bestowed upon you? Did you ever wonder if you were worthy? No, I thought not. That is why I have something for you, a gift for you to take, and I know you like taking. Are you excited? On the edge of your seats? Well, you won't have to wait too long. So, for a final time, come closer to you. Yes, you. I want you to smile, because my gift has finally arrived. Because you need this. Think of it as a second chance, a fresh start to rewind and rethink. It will be chaos for a time, but stand firm. It may be pain for a moment, but stay true. And it will get cold for a long while, but I promise you, you will be warm again. Once upon a time, there lived a boy who woke up from a very strange dream, but he had had stranger, and so he thought nothing of it. He rose up from his bed, went to have breakfast, ready for his daily commute to the hospital. And then, he saw the news, and his face dropped. They called it the Abyss. A hole the size of France opened in the center of the continent. Overnight, it had never been heard of. Science could not explain it. The houses, the roads, and the people who lived in that space had disappeared. But more than that, no one could remember them. Their names, what they did for work, who they were. It's like they had been erased from existence, as if the abyss was always there, as if the abyss was all that ever was. The boy thought about that, wondered if there had been anybody like that for him, but he thought not. He was sure he would remember them. The scientists said it was growing, inches every second, further and further, until it would eventually tear the earth asunder. They called it the end of the world. It was then that the boy heard it. The cars crashing, planes falling, devastation unlike anything he had seen before. The city was in ruin. This news shook the very best of men to their core, and the city did not house the very best of men. Guns sparked like wildfire. Stores were looted for panic, and the people barred their doors for the apocalypse. They were scared, fearful of the abyss, worried about falling in. They should have been worried about what came out. He opened his doors, and the world had already changed. Gone were the norms of society, the friendly face on the road, the sweet-smelling bakery on the way to work. The city was a hellscape. The winds had picked up, scattering debris across the roads, and the roads themselves were empty, devoid of life. In a matter of hours, the city had died. The boy walked out with all the supplies he could carry and turned north, because to the south was the abyss. He knew he could not outrun it, but like everybody else, he would try. After all, what choice did he have? It wasn't long before he saw her there, a young girl no older than 12, with a serious wound on her leg. "Help," she called out, struggling to be heard over the treacherous winds drowning out her voice. The boy walked through those winds and came to her. She smiled at her salvation. Silence. A strange, abyssal silence. And then he heard it. the howling, and he knew that whatever was behind him, it was not a human being. And then he saw it, a jet-black abomination covered in twisting scales from head to toe. The girl rose to her feet, eyes pools of midnight, and turned to him, and he looked into her eyes. It was then that the boy sprinted with all his might, all the power in his still growing legs, and ran, and as the wind cut like the sharpest knife, and his body screamed through the torment, he ran. He ran from dusk till dawn. He ran until he felt the cold, and he saw the snow, and he ran, and ran, and ran, and he reached the snowy hill when the sun broke on the horizon, and he passed out. He woke to the sound of fire and the absence of wind. His eyes shot open and landed on a woman who smiled at him kindly. "Where am I?" he asked, and the woman responded, "A cave hideout in the mountains. We found you, lying in the snow above us. Why didn't you take my supplies and leave me?" The woman frowned. "That wouldn't feel right," she said, and the boy smiled as he raised his hands to the fire, for there was still warmth in the world. But as he warmed his hands, he realized that he missed the wind. "What happened to you?" she asked him, and he told her of his encounter with that creature, and the woman frowned even further. She called them the Abyss Walkers. She said that they had risen from the gaping mouth of the abyss hours after it appeared, and they brought devastation in their wake. No man-made weapon could pierce that dark armor. They moved with the strength of creatures far larger and attacked with the grace of creatures far smaller. But that was not the strangest of things. The strangest thing was that they were not trying to slay these humans, but lead them into the abyss. They would carry the humans that they injured into there, and everyone who fell into the abyss would rise again as a walker, and the cycle would continue. There was no end to their cruelty, and there were those who would resist and eventually fall by their hands. But the strangest thing would happen. Everyone who fell by their demonic hands rose again, unrecognizable, and so they went about their task with efficiency, dragging man, woman, and infant into the cold abyss, never to be seen again. The most important thing, she said, is to never look it in the eyes. For if you looked into them, the walker was bound to you. The twisted sword of marriage. It knew you better than you knew yourself. It could see your darkest desires and find you in the densest of fog. They spoke with the voices of the loved ones they once were. Some say that there are walkers who don't even need to fight the human to lead them into the abyss. The human would just walk beside them, hand in hand, and go gently into that dark night. The boy's hand was shaking now, but he stilled it with all his might. "Now," she said, "it's time for the most important question. Did you look into a creature's eye?" "No," the boy said instantly, and then she smiled. "Then welcome to Haven." She took a step back, and behind her, a vibrant, glowing underground city held up by colossal stone pillars. Houses, vendors, and buildings decorated the different floors of rock monoliths the size of skyscrapers. The buildings were connected by bridges. Light illuminated that city in stellar glory. From the view, the city looked like a nest of intricate glowing spiderwebs. His haven. The boy knew it was a wrong, evil thing he had done. To lie to Reyna like that. He had indeed looked into the eyes of that young girl, and he wondered why the Abyss Walkers had let him go, but he could not help it. The warmth in Haven was so much kinder than the cold outside of it. Even if it was temporary, before the Abyss would eventually swallow them all whole. Even if he did miss the wind. This place was a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope in the cold and dark, and he would not let it go just yet. So as the days, the weeks and months went on, he ignored that feeling. Through the days he would go to see the wounded migrants of Haven, and as he was a hospital worker by trade, he would help them, and in the nights he would see his new friends in the community they had formed together. Reyna, the woman who had saved him, Benji, the craftsman who made tools for the commune, Cleo, the head doctor the boy worked for, and Isaac, the leader of Haven. He smiled with these four like he had never smiled before, even before the apocalypse. This was everything to him. Benji would make fireworks for them to light into the night sky on days the wind looked clear and the watchers were not seen. Cleo would take him through the mountain caves they called home to find ancient markings of civilizations long past, markings of swords and armor and sorcerers of the ages, and they would wonder at them together. With Isaac, the boy would go on trips through the underground city, greeting the bakers, butchers, and children of the commune. With Isaac, he would patrol the mountains for walkers, and it was on these patrols that he would feel the winter wind, and he was truly alive. But it was with Reyna that he felt the warmth, that same warmth he felt by the fire, the feeling that all would turn out as it should. They spoke on the things they loved, they spoke on the abyss, the feeling that they had lost something, lost someone, but could not remember them. The boy was a spirit of the wind, free and restless, and Reyna was his fire. He was on patrol when he saw it, a falling star. He stood in awe of that star for a long while, and the wind pushed him forward. When he reported to Isaac, the leader took it as a sign for a celebration. He named that star Haven's Comet, and declared that there would be a festival for that star. Preparations were swift. The city was decorated in red and yellow for the occasion, costumes were worn and lanterns littered the sky. The boy stood side by side with Reyna watching the lanterns, and it was then that he told her that he loved her. She told him he was wrong, that there was some lingering affection left over from the fact that she had simply saved his life. But he told her the truth. He told her that on that day that he fell in the snow, he had half wished that he did not rise again, half wished he had fallen into the embrace of winter to lie there forever. And when he woke and saw the face of an angel, he thought he had. He told her that she was a snowflake, the beauty of winter, uncompromising through blizzards, unrelenting through storms, and she kissed him when the fireworks touched the sapphire sky. And in his spirit he felt a warmth so the air chilled to ice. Then came the howls. Screams rose from the city. "Close your eyes," Reyna shouted. "Don't look at them." And so he closed them, took her hand, and ran. He made for the city to help his people, to save his family. And as he ran blind, he heard voices. "How did they find us?" they said. "What did we do wrong?" they shouted. And he ran forward, tears in his eyes. "Help!" He stopped, because it was a familiar voice. Isaac. He opened his eyes and saw him there, and saw that girl again, the Abyss Walker that he had seen, and impaled upon her hand, bleeding and lifeless, was Isaac. His eyes froze open in horror. "What?" Reyna asked him. "Why did we stop? What did you see?" "Nothing," he said as he watched Isaac fall limp at the girl's hand. And the boy knew that this was all his fault. All of it. The walkers found Haven because he had looked at her. Isaac died because he had looked at her. He knew this was going to happen, and he stayed anyway. And it was then that Isaac started to change, his skin turning black. The boy finally understood. He was a selfish creature, but he could change that. He let go of Reyna's hand. "What?" she asked. "Where are you? Percy, where did you go?" The boy was silent as he walked away from her, walked away from Haven, and he walked toward the Abyss Walker. It was time to accept who he. Reyna flew like the wind. She barreled toward the walker like a falling star to protect him. His eyes went wide, and he turned to see the walker. And finally, an expression was on her face. She smiled. The earth quaked, like the hand of God had shaken them. The boy looked up. Snow was falling down. An avalanche. Soon they would be buried. Reyna screamed. "Follow me," she said, and she took the boy's hand before he could blink. Walkers chased them with all the strength in their bones, but Reyna had been in Haven since its birth. These caves were her home, and she made her way through them like an ocelot through warm grass. She led herself, the boy, and any survivors she could find along the way, through the winding spiderweb they called home, to find a secluded cave, hidden from the avalanche that was raining down like the wrath of God. That avalanche buried their mothers, fathers, daughters, and lovers. They tried to cry, but Reyna held their mouths tight, because the walkers were still out there. The walkers did not need air to breathe, and perhaps they were waiting, right outside the cave, listening for tears. The boy held Rhaena's hand on one side and the hand of a small girl on the other, and he held them both through the night, and a memory sparked in his mind. A memory of something he could not grasp, something that was taken from him, and he slept. He woke to the apocalypse, as Rhaena led them to the surface. Of course, they had always been in the apocalypse. The haven was their ivory tower, castle of warmth in the harsh cold. But now, the cold welcomed them like an old lover, with spite. The cold embraced them in cruelty, and in this cruelty they buried their dead, could not find a great amount in the snow that descended upon them, and so they buried who they could. These were the people who did not fall to the walkers, but were buried in the avalanche. The people asked the boy, the people asked Percy to say words for them, but he declined. He had none for them, nothing that would heal this wound. The boy wandered a short distance to the top of a snowy hill. There, he could see the abyss had grown, almost all the way to the mountains now. The southern line of the horizon had all been swallowed by that gorge. Rhaena came up to meet him, and she looked to him, and in her eyes was a question. What do we do? Where do we go? Help me to lead them, those eyes asked of him. And he had nothing. He did not know. He was no Isaac. The wind rose. He looked up to where the wind was leading. The comet, he whispered, and then he shouted, the comet, I don't know where it landed, but we have to go there. The wind had always felt like a friend to him, giving him euphoric sensations and guiding him through blackest night. He would trust in it now, and take them to that comet. Haven's comet. Snow underneath them buckled, and the woman was pulled underneath it. What's going on? What's happening? There's only one thing that could survive beneath that snow. Walkers. We have to go, Rhaena said. Now. Where are we going? The boy raised a hand and pointed towards the wind, and they went. The journey was long, and the wind cut through their clothes like the sharpest of fangs. With the walkers behind them and the blizzards in front, they resisted the urge to fall, although some did and were swept away by the cold. They resisted the urge to turn around, although some did, and followed the embrace of the walkers to the abyss. Rhaena and Percy resisted. They led a group no larger than 50 at this point, through that god-forsaken blizzard in the depths of despair, towards the beacon of hope that was the comet. Where did it land? Where was our hope, our salvation? Men and women fell beside them, taken by the cold, embraced by the walkers, but still, they resisted. Voices called from behind with the sound of loved ones they once knew. Haven had most definitely been taken by the abyss at this point, because Percy found himself forgetting everyone who had lived there, everyone buried beneath the snow. He knew they had a leader, and perhaps a doctor, but that was all he could remember. The abyss had them now, and he hoped in his mind that they would find peace. Benji was still with them, and he was grateful for that. The old craftsman was on his last legs, about to fall to winter. Percy looked at him, and said a silent prayer to anything that would listen. He did not want to forget Benji, and he did. Look, Rhaena turned to him, and he saw it, a break in the blizzard, a crater in the earth larger than the city of Haven, and in its center, the fallen comet. The people approached it warily, for they did not know what threats it could hold. They descended into the crater, and slowly, calmly, approached the comet. Strangely, so strange, like water, it seemed to be made of a curious sort of lattice. It appeared similar to metal, but the boy knew that there was something off about it. Howling tore through the dark, and the people turned to the lip of the crater to see an army of abyss walkers surrounding them, looking down on them, and the boy sighed, for Percy knew that this would be their final stand. They were surrounded on all sides. He held Rhaena close and led his people on top of the comet to stand on that silver metal and make their final resting place. Then came the girl, the abyss walker, who knew the very depths of his soul, because he had looked into her eyes. That daughter of dread rose from the army of walkers like a cruel sun. She descended into the crater, walked toward the people. No, she walked toward him in particular, His soul was tied to her, and she would follow him. Through the rain, the cold, the heat, the silence, she would always be there. He had looked into the abyss, and the abyss looked back, through her eyes, and in them, he saw his oblivion. He raised the crude stick he had been carrying, and accepted the girl evaporated. His eyes went wide, because as soon as the walker stepped on that silver surface, she burst into white flame, as if cleansed by some holy light. He turned to Reyna, who smiled at him with that familiar warmth. The survivors behind him, a group no larger than 20 now, cheered with 1,000 voices strong. Hope had descended from the heavens. The boy's eyes turned to Benji, who nodded at him. "Can you do it?" "I have my tools," he said. "What should I make?" A memory reached the boy then, an image of a cave deep in the mountains and markings on the cave walls, swords, armor, steel, and fury. He told these words to Benji, and the craftsman nodded. "Give me time." And so they slept there, through the night, with Benji hard at work on that silver metal, crafting hope in his hands, and with the walkers on that crater's edge, watching them, but not approaching. And the sun came, and Benji smiled. The boy stood in front of his people, 20, frail, starved survivors of Haven, with snow in their hair and hate in their hearts. They asked of him words when he went to bury their dead, and he had offered none. He would offer words today. He stood covered head to toe in silver armor that Benji had made for them all. From a distance, he seemed a warrior of light in his heart. He knew there was no light in what they had to do. He regarded their faces as he spoke. "You asked of me words when you buried your dead. I failed you all then, for I thought that there was nothing I could say that could heal the wounds on your souls. I know now that that was cowardice, because you were not asking me to heal your wounds. You were asking me to show you my own. I could not remember much before the abyss. I might have had a mother, a father. I cannot remember them. Whenever I try, all I see is a hole in my mind, a gaping surface through which there is no end. You have all felt the same. Your loved ones, all lost to the abyss. It's taken even their memories from you. Long have I felt the urge to let myself fall in and reunite with my people, because I thought they were gone forever. But then I felt the wind, and I knew that they were not. The people started to bang on their silver armor. The wind cannot be seen in our eyes, cannot be clutched in our hands, but we know with a certainty that defies reason that it is there. The wind is known by what it moves. We cannot see the gales themselves, but when the trees sway, we know. We cannot embrace the storm tempests of winter, but when the hail rains down on our skin, we know. Banging grew louder. I may not have known your loved ones, but I see them in you now. The resilience, the spirit, the fire that has brought you here today is a testament to their existence that the abyss can never take away. The wind is known by what it moves, and so I ask, what moves you? The people rise up, lashing their chests in ravenous fury. How will your loved ones feel you on their skin? Will it be a passing breeze, unknown and unfelt? Will they forget you, robbed of the memories of even your existence? The boy raised his sword in the air, and the people banged on their silver armor with a drumming. No, never. I know you all, because you are me. Follow me now, and I swear your memories will be the storms on their cheeks, the hail in their eyes. Follow me, and we will be the hurricane. And cheers rained from the sky, piercing the stars in their thunder. And they called out, "Windwalker, Windwalker, Windwalker." "Where are we going?" Reyna asked at his side. "Enough hiding," he said. "No more running." And the boy smiled, because the wind had changed directions. It was leading south, toward the abyss. and swords sang through the world. Death littered the landscape like snowflakes as the people of Haven took the fight to the walkers. They charged with the fury of their fallen, their forgotten, and they gave them the wind. The walkers turned to dust at a touch from that silver metal, and seeing them fall made the people fight all that much harder. When their sons and daughters had fallen, they could do nothing but close their eyes and pray the dark did not find them. But now, their eyes were open, and they did not run from the dark. They brought the light, and the boy, Percy, led them, sword in hand. He was a storm incarnate. He was the light that never waned, and woe to men who would stand against him. He cleaved through the walkers like warm bread. The sword was at home in his hands, like it was born to be there, like he was born to be there. And in the distance, he saw it, the abyss. It had grown much larger, much closer, slicing a last walker before turning south, the direction of his home, the direction he had been running from all this time. The wind bows to no one. He took a breath, said a prayer, and started to run. He ran for his family, though he could not remember them. He ran for Haven, and what he had done to them. He ran for Rhaena, and prayed that she would remember him. With the wind at his back, he ran, planted his feet, and he jumped. The fall was strange. Yes, he was hurling through the air at a speed unimaginable, and yes, he could not see any part of his surroundings, but it was strange. He could not feel the wind. It made little sense. How the rush of air that was supposed to be felt on his cheek was absent, as if he was floating in a never-ending waterfall, to be forgotten in a sea of misery. Then he looked up and saw her, Rhaena. She was following next to him. She had followed him. That's when the boy knew that he really was a selfish creature, because even though she had condemned herself to share his fate, his heart had never felt so warm. Then the abyss grew eyes, and the two humans froze in place. The deepest threat imaginable, and the pupil like a dark star looked up at him from the bottom of the abyss. His blood dropped. The abyss was alive, not simply a gorge in the ground, but a sentient being with eyes trained on him. A primal growl ruptured his ears, because the sound it now made was not meant for human consumption. And the boy laughed, whether it be because of the ridiculousness of the situation, or because he was such a small, insignificant being in the fabric of the cosmos. He did not know, but he laughed all the same. The eyes focused on the boy, and he started to change. His skin grew cold, his eyes grew black, and beside him, Rhaena was doing the same. It was time. The boy opened his eyes, and in them he saw worlds, tempestuous oceans, desert storms, worlds of snow, sun, and everything in between. He saw the worlds that the abyss had swallowed before his, worlds of sickness, cruelty, and damnation. And then the boy looked up at Rhaena, his world, and confidence filled his heart, and he could swear that he felt the wind, raised his hand, and in that his sword, and light shone in the abyss because that silver sword was now pure, holy white. He took that light and looked down toward the eyes of the abyss, and he fell down. As he shot toward that darkness, another strange thing started to happen. Memories flooded his mind, memories of a time before the abyss, a memory of a girl who had loved to chase him around ever since she was born, a memory of his sister. He wore her memory like armor as he came down with the thunder of God. He knew it was his end, but that mattered little. He searched his memory for a time he had felt so complete, so fulfilled, and he found none. And as he fell to meet the eye, his skin was completely destroyed by the gales, his sword hand melted by the light, but that meant nothing. In this, he was no man. He was the wind, and the righteous wind tore through the yawning dark, and he embraced the abyss like a lover, and the world felt their kiss. The world was forever changed. In the hours after these strange events, people started clawing their way out of the abyss. The abyss walkers changed, turning back human. Brothers, sisters, loved ones who people had no recollection of having appeared to meet them. They knew something had happened to them, but the world had been changed by this giant hole, but they knew not how. The people who had once lived in Haven went back to their homes, their lives, with their loved ones who had fallen from the abyss. But for one woman in particular, there was no rest, no hearth fire at the end of a tired journey, because although she could not remember them, a piece of her heart was missing. And for this particular piece, there would be no honor, no glory, no statue for the world to see. But strangely enough, when she felt the wind caress her cheek, she knew that this piece would never be forgotten. Wow, this video was sponsored by me. I started a Patreon, so please check it out for my scripts, or just simply support the channel so I can make more videos more frequently and at a higher quality. Also, join the Discord, we have fun there. I'm hoping that I can edit all of that, because that was a chunky video to write, I won't lie to you. I'd been thinking of having a video take place in a world with a hole in the middle for a while now. The main inspiration was a single fan in my Discord who goes by the name of Walrus. This guy has asked me for a zombie video about 400 times. The Abyss Walkers are indeed zombies, argue with a wall. I thought, why not blend them together with the Abyss idea and make something worth writing? I hope it was worth watching. If it was, please subscribe and like the video because that helps me out so much. Thank you all for listening.